A fantastic evening to you all, and welcome once again back to now day 3 of the PUBG Mobile Club Open United Kingdom Spring Split 2021. We've now seen all 31 teams take on their first day of competition. Least to say, it's been a whopper of a time. Tonight, we're going back to groups A and C for their second day of play and find out if KI1 Esports can maintain their lead over the competition, or if the likes of Rangers and Uniteam can pick up those points where it counts. And you at home can keep your lead too by checking out the latest smartphone technology by our sponsor Xiaomi, creating innovation for everyone. Hello, my name's Helen Wolf. And joining me here is the one and only Professor Tarzan. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really well. Thank you, everyone who has been supporting us from home. And obviously, we've got 2 days down already. So all the teams have already played the first day of gameplay and have these ranking on the table. Just look at those kill points, like a Nostra MVP. Fragging so hard yesterday and bringing them to the top of the table. Obviously, they won't be playing tonight, but KI1 will be playing when they are just 2 points behind. And also in the likes of certain teams that will play tonight for Generation, Smokers, Sons of Odin will all be playing. So these teams are showing quite a lot of that potential in here, but they have been studying the game a bit more after those 2 days of PMCO UK and see what they can do tonight after a little bit of preparation, a bit of difference in focus of gameplay, and we get to speak to some of them as well, and we will bring through that bit of information and inside news to all of you soon. And you know what? Speaking of the situation yesterday, right, Highland Wolf, we've got a point sponge situation with those top teams leading or leaving some of these teams at the bottom right here, as we can see on that page. And in the likes of teams like TES, Esports, and Cyrex, ESP, Uniteam, they all have to step the games up for a little bit if they want to be in the run to get that spot in the finals.
Yeah, of course, we mentioned it's now their second chance for some of these teams now to jump back into the action. And it's going to be these now interesting series of days to have their second shot, their second chance at 4 games, at really cementing their position on the leaderboard. Of course, you can obviously see the schedule, which will come up for our 4 games tonight and for our 16 teams playing tonight in groups A and C. Would you like to take us through some of these games that these teams will be playing?
For sure, of course, we have that match 1 on Erangel, the beautiful Green Hills, and that will be where we start on all these days in the PMCO United Kingdom. In match 2, we will head over to Sanhok, in which our match 3 going over to Desert of Miramar. And in game 4, we are going back to Erangel. So all these teams will play half of the games on the map of Erangel. So a lot of emphasis on this classical map right here. And yes, that will bring these teams, like to guide them into what to focus on. This is the map that if they invest a lot of time into studying and preparing, they should be rewarded for it, knowing how the format works.
Yeah, and I think it is going to be that first Erangel map, and obviously ending on it too, which is going to be so crucial for some of these teams, because some of these teams, of course, like the side of Sons of Odin, they didn't have such a great first game, number 1, remember. They said, of course, in talking to them after their first day, they felt pretty low after the first game, but then they played safer through Sanhok, through Miramar, through the final match of Erangel on game number 4, and they got those placement points. And in fact, they actually got as many placement points as Nostra MVP, who are, of course, in that first position with 74 points. But down on the other end, in 5th position, Sons of Odin, only 46 points because they didn't pick up so many kills that Nostra did with their whopping 39 kills we saw yesterday.
A difference of 28 points just based on kill points, and that shows a lot of the difference in the style. But you know what, Insania, the IGL of Sons of Odin, did tell me they noticed that as one point that they need to work on, and they've been practicing the aggressive plays the past day or so, and I'm looking forward to see how they can show that, if they can keep what they've done well in their first day, right? So get the same placement points or more, but be able to farm more kills as well, they have a very, very good chance because they are already at 46 points. We talk about a roughly 9 to 10 points per game average. And if they can do the same and better, they are hitting 100 points. And I think they will be pretty strong, right, in this tournament.
Yeah. I think for sure it will be them looking pretty strong if they can increase their aggression, but keep it to a level of smart aggression, not going too brave and getting caught out here realistically. Because
Yep.
keep in mind, there is still many strong teams competing tonight alongside the Sons of Odin. Of course, like the team of KI1 Esports taking second position. They're just 2 points behind Laka Nostra MVP with 72 points. And they, of course, have so many game points or placement points here with 39 in total. Also, keep in mind they had a really strong game of aggression with also 33 kill points. Even looking down just below them, you've got Smokers there in fourth position with not only 23 placement points, but they also brung themselves above Sons of Odin by getting those extra kill points, 26 in total. And more notably, I think even looking at the results here as well that we saw earlier on, the winner chicken dinners, all top 6 right now.
Other than the likes of Risk Esport, who's in 13th place right now, they are a team that got one chicken dinner, but only with 31 points right now. So that chicken dinner, that placement point from that one game would be 50% off the total points right now. But you know what? I spoke to some of these players in the likes of Risk themselves, Risk Esports, as well as Royal Knights. They told me that, of course, that day one wasn't the best, but they are ready to take this day 2 away. Of course, it's day 2 of their play, is the day 3 of the tournament, just to clarify. And so it's important to see how they adjust their mentality according to how they play. And this is a topic that I put a lot of emphasis on yesterday. And also in the likes of Cyrix, another team that I spoke to, they explored how they played in their day 1, and they said they have a focus for today, which is to learn how to hold down a spot that they find advantageous. So these are the things that we're going to be looking at, not just for me, it's for all of you, of course, for the teams. And you know what? Let's not wait any longer. We should go through the teams we have in groups A and C tonight. Starting off, let's start with Group A, and let me just quickly pull that up. We have KI1 Esports, then TES Esports. We have Risk Esport, a lot of esport in here. TES team coming up next, Cyrex ESP, Cyrix Esports, Smokers Esports, and Sons of Odin. And then we will carry on with Group C, and Highland Wolf are going to do that for us.
Yeah, obviously in Group C, we do have B12, Royal Knights, Wild Esport, Uni Team, Renger's Team, 4 Generation, the Uncles UK, and Spark Esport. And I think, of course, looking at the list of all of these 16 teams playing tonight, it's going to be, as we mentioned, the second showing for these teams. And I think all of us watching will be interested to see as well, Tarzan, more or less, 2 relatively more even groups going to be clashing up against one each other. I don't think we can expect to see the crazy point sponge, right, that came out of Laka Nostra MVP last night's games, where we just obliterated it with 2 chicken dinners. But now, all of these teams, some of them got 1 chicken dinner. Some of these teams are good at getting kills, albeit not being able to finish it off with that chicken dinner. Do you think that we can expect a more even style of games today?
You know what? It's a very tricky question, Island Wolf. You know what? Because when I think about the validity of data, of course, every day counts. But we need to see how these teams adapt. Sometimes it's like chess, right? It's style to style. You may beat
chess.
this team, but you may not be as good against the style of another team. And speaking of that, the styles keep evolving and changing. Coming is all down to how they want to adapt, and more importantly, how they study the game. Right? That is commitment. That is a definition of just effort when it comes to this type of tournament. So I think the gap in that level of commitment and dedication will be a huge factor to how they play tonight. So I am going to give you an indefinite answer in that one because I believe in the many possibilities, the versatility of the dynamics of tonight's games, and so we will be looking forward to that for sure. How about you?
Yeah,
What's your
I
answer to your
think
own question?
for me, I feel like it is an opportunity, right, for some of these teams. As we mentioned earlier, Renger's team and Uni team
Mm,
slightly lower down on that leaderboard, 20 and 21st position, but they're not so far down from those top 16 spots that are the threshold, if you like, for these teams to be
mhm,
going through to the PMCO UK finals. So if they have a good showing, and if they're able to get enough of a lead over some of these other teams, especially keep in mind, we still got groups B and D to take their second shot
mhm.
tomorrow night as well. That will be them having a strong showing and a
Mm,
concrete hold of their position potentially going into a final set of games in 2 days' time.
yeah. But it's also scary, as you say, that by the end of tonight, they would have played two-thirds of their group
Right.
stage games. And that it's just really need them to hold it down. And this is the chance to show it as we have that plane flies over the beautiful green hills of Erangel. This is day 3, baby. Are you all ready? I know I am. How about you, Highland Wolf?
I am super ready here to get us onto the green rolling hills of Erangel and see just what these teams can do. An interesting playing path here, though, Tarzan.
Mm. Going from just off that, you know what, south, I'm just going to call it a Lipovka, start of that plane path, all the way towards that western bridge. Very, very southern plane path. Oh my god, it makes, if we just draw one line, right, from, let's say, Gatka, the Gatka chopsticks towards Yasnaya, everything to the top left of that will be very, very hard to reach. Of course, they can go for those vehicle spawns early and they can just go towards the northern parts of the map, but the congestion on the south side will be very likely just based on where the plane path is. Obviously, we will have to wait for the Fate Fun Circle to dictate that pace, so we will just see how they play out.
And I'm loving as well that the South Island here as well, Tarzan, is getting a little bit more love than what we usually
Mm.
get to see earlier games as well. Even to the extent some of these rogue teams, of
Oh,
course, like Sons of Odin, going to that Primorsk area, and they are going to be super thankful that they did, because look at that nasty zone. Already phase 1 playing dirty with us here as it goes down as far south as it can possibly go.
oh my god, this circle, right? We had some games in the days before that made teams need to choose between whether they should take a spot on the main island or the southern island. But this phase 1 circle, it has more than 50% in the water. This is going to speed things up, Highland Wolf, and I am looking forward to see how these teams prioritize. Predict the zone as well, how many of them are going to funnel in to the southern island through maybe the eastern bridge. And of course, we've got Sons of Odin here with the secondary drop spot after Hospital being their favorite. They will drop here alongside TEST.
And a crucial spot here that both TES team and Sons of Odin control, because keep in mind it is a Primorsk area and a Fairy Pier area, which is where teams often will take a wide rotation to that South Island if the zone begins to go a little bit dirty, it begins to go towards that South Island, as we already have begun to see in this phase 1 circle. So it will be crucial to see who controls and who wins this fight for the south end of Erangel, and who will be able to then potentially make a very speedy rotation towards if that western side bridge, and then after that be able to gatekeep some teams.
You know what? With this drop coming from TES team, I'm wondering if they have been targeting right this team right here, Sons of Odin, because they haven't dropped there before, if my memory serves me correctly, but they are just going to drop on a spot that Sons of Odin have dropped before in this tournament. But meanwhile, the side of Rengers, we saw them, we mentioned how they might be struggling, but they are going down a little bit with some disadvantage against the Uncles, another team in the bottom 5 position. So that will be some momentum that they need so much. And right here in Yasnaya, Smokers, they won at least one of those Erangel games, the first ever game in PMCO UK. They've won that one and they started it in Yasnaya Polyana, so they are here to maybe repeat that history. But let's not forget, V12 shown a lot of the potential as well. So if they clash early, that may change a lot of the possibilities for this later stage.
Yeah, V12 here coming off a strong game yesterday in 8th position, but are behind Smokers in 4th. And you mentioned, of course, it is the side of V12 being that brave team to go against Smokers, but take that chicken dinner and had such a strong aggressive showing versus their opponents earlier on in day 1 of Yasnaya Polana. Also getting a bit close for comfort, though, is of course Risk versus side of Cyrix, is they will also come up down towards that South Island and the military base area. Simba maybe scouting out here a bit too close for comfort, though, potentially.
Royal Knights told me, right, they are ready for today. So, and both these teams spoke to me after that day 1. They both have some confidence, both having some focus points. And now that they're clashing in this military base, really test their knowledge of the map. But meanwhile, Simba using that position will fall short and he will just be the first one out.
Yeah, Royal Knights Fair, I think, just got a bit too hasty, got a bit too aggressive going into this first match. Yes, you saw them drop in Erangel to the South Island. They are comfortable with it, but so too comfortable are Cyrix Esports. As you see, they have taken up that first knock and first kill, and that will now put them not only at a disadvantage, but at a really dangerous position here. Because look now, of course, at the way that this zone has gone towards that South Island. With only 3 players alive, it's going to make so much harder to either control the South Island or even try and control a bridge to determine a good chance of if it goes back up north towards the western south side of Erangel, that they still have a shot into zone.
Exactly, then for this type of circle and the situation that Royal Knights have lost to, they need to do that damage control now. I like the fact that they're retreating away, but you know what? I'm still a little bit disappointed in how this team played this game 1, because they've been dropping here for a few times now. They were not prepared at all for teams to come in. With this particular circle, you can expect teams to come in so quick, but I think they're so focused on looting that they're out of position. To be knocked in this early phase, not just knocked, but finished in the matter of a few seconds, is a big indicator of mispositioning.
Yeah, it all, of course, is about positioning here. And you see, even now, Cyrix ESP making their way towards one of these crucial bridge areas of Erangel right now in this first game. And with this zone now already halfway shrinking to phase number 2, that's going to be the crucial point, right? Phase 2, where we see these teams really have to put the pressure on. Smokers even taking one onto Wild Bowler there as they come out of that Yasnaya Polyana compound and closer into zone. Now you see the side, of course, so Cyrix making their way towards the side of TS Esport, already controlling a really strong compound there on that south end.
I think this is a really half-hearted compound controlled by TAS Esports. If you are holding this, you are trying to stop the teams coming through the bridge, but they didn't really show any presence in that moment. They didn't make a bigger split around that to choke the plan Bs of any rotating team upon showing themselves. So I think that's a little bit of a missed opportunity. It seems like they just got here still thinking how to play this. But you know what? I'm just going to make it blunt. I don't like it at all. I just don't like it. I think they have to be more aggressive.
I think, yeah, right, if you're going to try control a bridge, you have to be aggressive. You have to be able to really turn it on when it counts, with potentially 2-3 teams running over that bridge if it gets a bit nasty, if it gets a bit fast by the way that these zones are going. But over on the other side, KI1 Esports still making their way on the edge of zone, overlooking there as we see Wild Esport in their house themselves. KI1, they had such a strong showing as well on Erangel, almost were able to take some chicken dinners from it.
Very interesting to see what KI1 is doing. I mean, I haven't got a lot of opportunities to speak with them, but just think about that playing path, right? And they are, with regard to that playing path, they still take the edge on the northeastern side. They will rarely see any team in there. And with this type of circle that you may not be so advantageous coming into the bridge area late, that makes me wonder what their game plan is. Would this be the type of edge play that they're trying to do? I mean, meanwhile, look at the rest of the lobby, right? Still trying to favor that southern island, and of course, we have that phase two circle quite inconclusive still. You can see the likes of Sons of Odin still needing to come in, just chilling a little bit around Quarry. V12 will be holding that coastline on that main island, and so these teams still need to think which side is going to go. Most importantly, they need to use the knowledge to know why they're doing a particular thing, really.
What interests me, though, Tarzan, is that not many teams at all are taking that southwestern coastline. They're all grouping up on the South Island, but Phase 2 has now split it 50-50 between that southwest island, and you see smokers there rotating around to try get a compound in case it does stick towards that northern end of Erangel inside this zone so far. You saw also, keep in mind, a flank rotations of not only Spark but also Royal Knights, who of course lost 2 members earlier on towards the south of North Military Island, and they will be keeping quiet for now, allowing all the actions to subside and then potentially trying to take a chicken dinner, steal one away from there.
I think this type of circle makes phase 1 very interesting, right? If you know that a lot of teams may choke each other in along the coastline, you are allowed to loot further away from the plane path. You know, to just make sure you have the resources every time you feel some resistance, you reposition, you med up, and then you test again. But if you are really eager to take those center spots, you might just have resources for one fight, right? And with that water in play as well, Highland Wolf, you may kill some of these guys like we see on Spark, on Botation, but you can't grab those loot. But you know who's going to provide some loot? That is going to be Risk. Risk to the Smokers. Smokers still holding strong in this game after the strong showing on day 1. They are up at 3 kills and the full squad up.
Yeah, the only smoke I see is a green smoke coming out of loot boxes of Risk. You also see the side of TS losing a couple to, of course, SRX, ESP there earlier. And they actually get potentially all wiped out there. Is Hype just finishes off that fight on that kill feed. And you see now just the aggression beginning to come out of these teams, right? Because now they are so congested on that South Island that they have to start taking these fights whether they like it or not.
Just need to position in the way that you have more options. So like you mentioned, Highland, with that southwestern coastline around Ferry Pier, etc., should be prime real estate right now because they have multiple positions, stop swimmers, as well as boat for them to grab if they need to cross. And those would be the important resources right now, right? And still really interesting to see in the likes of KI1 to play Edge. Same for Wild Esport. They had a good game yesterday in game 4, I believe, and that may help them. And look at these 2 squads that we mentioned who dropped in Yasnaya now meeting again in that rich compound on that main island. The congestion on that western bridge is real. It's going to be crazy. I just can't wait for this shift to see how these teams adapt to this next phase. Still inconclusive,
it is
my
going
God.
to shift. They're over to the side of B12 and KI1. 2 particularly strong teams here in the lobby tonight. Had strong showings, as we mentioned previously, from their first night of games. But what concerns me is KI1 here have to not only defend potentially against V12, but also, as you say yourself, the side of Uniteam and Cyrix now on that west side bridge, both looking to try take names and take a position alongside the edge.
Oh, Uni teams trying to backstab from this. They had the high ground, but the control with those sightlines were not enough. The double knock comes through. One got flushed already. I thought they had the upper hand, but I was proved wrong.
Yeah, of course, now this is where the fight starts to happen, and you also see now, of course, Renger's team losing one out to the side of TES team as they peek out a tree and take one knock for themselves. Looking at now is, of course, Dire. They're looking for a way potentially to finish that off and also find some strong position just to disrespect as they roll over him with the vehicle and now move their way back along towards that south end of zone, that southwest end of zone, overlooking the rest of their victims of Rengo's team.
I think this zone is so tricky to play. It really comes down to how much they know the spot that they're holding and how good they are scouting, right? Because it's all about figuring out how many teams decide to play on that South Island or on the main island. And in the likes of Smokers, we know they've been rotating a little bit slow. They took that main island bit and now trying for a wide rotation, now coming in from the southeastern side. I think if they scout properly, they are able to catch a lot of these teams off guard who are relying on certain position to give them the full sense of security.
You see, even TS taking more names now on that kill feed, as it will be also Uncles feeling the pain train as Saint will fall down as well. Not what they were looking for. But as you mentioned, Smokers, they are playing a much more passive game than what they were previously. They were super aggressive in their first night of games in Yaz and I Polyarp, literally pushing out the enemies from the compound and from the city. But meanwhile, the action, as we mentioned, from the side of TS team is now we take another squad of Uncles here, and it will be Aga taking one in return. And they've had enough of the side of TS team, as they will take one knock. It will keep Saint alive, and TS team now on the retreat with, keep in mind, the side of Spark Esport on the background.
Oh my god, and TES team just sends in the 4 team to support after losing that one. I'm not sure whether that's the best play, because you should maybe just accept that one death and get yourself a better position to rotate in. Rotating away from the previous spot will lose a lot of priority heading into the next phase as we see that shift basically concluding over on the southern island to that eastern side. So now that TS team push up in this and lose 2 as well, they are in shambles right now. That is their own mistake, and that is the price that they paid.
Yeah, meanwhile, of course, you see, of course, side Sons of Odin, Risk, V12, all going to be the teams to rotate across that water. They're going to have a difficult as heck time to try and make it into now this Phase 4 zone, as that did take the shift over to the South Island. It will definitely be a South Island finish, as, of course, this fight still extended on between the side of TES team and Uncles, and as we mentioned, the side of Spark just rotating away from the fight completely as KI1 also find a couple onto 4th generation.
And I think this is TES team done as they goes out at 15th place. South Uncles took that win full team up still. This is a much needed good game by them because they were at 27th place before tonight's game as they rotate through the southern edge, finding a good spot. It will not be so easy, so the car formation and how they use those scouts are very, very important right here. Meanwhile, very close to them is side of Renga going in after losing Zalut and attacks very early. This is not going to be an easy one with this high grass or now controlled by the other teams.
You see Uncles, they pulled up, they tried to take the shots onto Renga's team, but they do not prove successful. Also, Wild will lose one potentially, but all the meanwhile, Uncles, Renga, they both have rotated into a super strong team, as we mentioned earlier. Smoke is here still in that compound, and Uncles trying to take it to them. As you see, Smokers will actually find one pick onto Aga. Aga will go down, and now that makes it 3 versus 4 situation on the uphill, while the side of Smokers still control the compound.
And with this pickup as well, Uncle can just go wide, right? Like they have some potential. They can use the ridge to scout on the side for a slightly wider rotation in the clockwise or anti-clockwise manner. If we see those a little bit of space around that minimap behind Smokers, that can be a reverse gatekeep if the zone continues to shift towards the northern side.
I do think those smokers, they hold a stronger position, just obviously having control over the zone position of Uncles. They need to make that, as you say, wide rotation up. Meanwhile, Four Generation and Sons of Odin, we mentioned some of these teams going to be struggling to make that rotation down through the water from the northern side. They will be losing a couple more members and almost being picked off, as we still have 39 players alive and 20 minutes now into the game here with such small position inside this zone. There's really only this open beachfront. You see the amount of players desperate to get first onto the shores and start smacking names and players out of the game.
It's so hard right now. Of course, Hisoka has a spot on the coastline when there's so many fishies in there, but he has to hold this down as a single player from KI1. Meanwhile, the side of Spark is coming in from that western side and will join this game of shooting the fishies. A beautiful knock comes through from Hisoka with the frag grenade.
I don't think they wanted to play that game, Tarzan, not the grenade game. They want to play the shooting game, but Gyro just gets popped a second time. The vehicle gets popped, but Hisoka won't fall for now. The smokes come out. Meanwhile, the Sons of Odin lose another. Kakshel will also find one onto Ghost as these players start to make their ascent onto the beachfront and start to make their time through into the 5th phase zone. Now, as you see it come off the beach into the land of the South Island. Ben and Sinovo, that flank side, coming round to Soka. And Hisoka heals up. Can he take the first aid kit? No, he won't be able to now. He takes Ben out of the game, and Hisoka drops back down. Meanwhile, takes his eyes back onto the beachfront again, as more will fall. Modi takes the knock and the death by also Danoka and Alani falling to V12 Khan.
Oh my god, Hisoka's trying to take a 1v3 right now, but I mean the South Spark's trying to challenge one by one, and they will pay the price. It's essentially a 1v4. Hisoka's staying strong, but the rest of his team is just gone on that coastal line, and this circle is going to close very soon. V12 able to make it on the coast is incredible good news for them. Insania will be the last one for Sons of Odin as they took that disappointing 10th place in this game one. But this game is still so volatile with this circle going back on that main ground, some hills in play. Oh, I just don't know what to expect anymore.
Yeah, well, Riskard certainly feeling the pain right now in the water. That's what they're going to expect. And so will Detective, as he just has to survive as long as he can before coming up for air and being popped by the bullets of V12 or another team. And you also see the side of Sirix Esports now hiding on the shoreline themselves on that northeastern side. But it will now be also Phantom and Smokers losing one as Rengar's Malik from behind. They duo come back into the game. They say, although we're a duo, we still have time in this game and we're still going to bring it to you.
And this type of circle, right, Highland Wolf, is not about whether we are edge team or a center team. It's all about your knowledge of the terrains. If you can find a brilliant tree and rock, you can win this, right? And you need to also assess how to get out of that cover as we are waiting for that next zone, and we will see more of how these teams and players use this strategy right here, use that awareness that I just mentioned, and I think we are going to get that really soon. It's going to be a hard shift to the southwestern side, an easy access given to the teams of Uncle. They would really need that good game. Like I mentioned, 27th place before this game starts.
Not so lucky right now, our smokers. You see the side of Sirix Esports trying to find a long range into both Sirix, into smokers, and also into side of Uncles there. But Sirix themselves, they need to watch out because V12 tried to play a little bit nasty, instead just get deleted away. As Sirix said, we've had enough of you. How dare you come out onto that beachfront and try contest us? Take two for themselves. Then keep Lucci up, and that will be so crucial for them coming into zone. Still one of the furthest teams away, 170 meters.
Oh my god, you did this type of circle when Uncles have the high ground and has the circle. We always talk about teams need to time the rotations right, but this is going to be so much more difficult, Highland Wolf, because they just came out from the water. There's no vehicles for them to use, so they may just look like really silly, panicking people trying to zigzag their way through. As Cyrix in here proving my point, showing how they may do that. But Uncles, do be aware though. Saint, be careful. Know the limits of your ridgeline as he continues to laser down with that knock onto Cyrix.
One goes down. Hisoka will also drop into the 6th phase blue zone, and that will be the confirmed kill by Eslam. It's a duo from Uncles tidy that one up. It's Hunt now on the edge of zone. The sole player for the side of Surex trying to keep themselves alive, but that Papa Blue going to play nasty and also push him into the side of Royal Knights now, who have that 1-1 split. Cable going to be that crucial member to try and get themselves into zone. It's faster on the other end. Ahead, though, you do obviously see the side of Rengar's team, as it will be Malik to take that grenade to the face, and Molotov going to try finish him off. Is Uncle still standing strong inside this hillside?
They're playing like they've got no fear right now, and the Uncles are showing what they're made of with that particular position as well, and the momentum through that full team up and 8 kills. This can very well be the game to take.
I doubt that any of these other teams here will be able to take it to Uncle. Still the full squad, still the 8 kills here. The only real competitors, of course, are the side of Rengar's team, furthest ahead towards him, but it's still going to be so tricky. Malik was also naded down. They've only got one more member left. Faster's just going to tickle himself away inside the zone. That phase 6 is going to pop him faster, and he can first aid kit himself back up, and Uncle's surely take this first game.
I would say so. Especially, I thought Rengar's had the chance, right? With 2 players, if the circle moves to them and the Uncles have to come down, but they're now just down to that 1 player and will be finished as well. Now we're just down to that 1v4 situation, and that might be an important and good suicide, because we don't want to give away that kill point, but he did anyway. And that will be game 1 for us, and that is Uncle coming strong in this one. They had 11 points, guys. 11 points before tonight started. And in this one single game, they got 27. And that is how much it counts. And that's why you need to keep your hopes up.
Right.
That's why you need to keep your head clear. You need to know a way and know the possibility to bounce back. If you want to change, of course, pray to the gods of PUBG, but also look into that bloody mirror. Look at them doing better now. Royal Knights doing good as well. They told me they are confident to play for tonight, right? To play tonight, and they got that 2nd place, 14 points. Very decent game 1. Obviously, we also have Rengar's, and Rengar's was one of those teams that we were worried about, but they made it to top 3, so that is a very good encouragement for them, good momentum for them going into the last 3 games of tonight.
Yeah, the Uncles there from 27th position all the way up to 11th, and securing themselves now already a spot inside that top 16 for now. And also keep in mind some disappointing showings though from, of course, the side of 4th Generation and Smokers Esport, as you see 4th Generation in 14th position in that game, only picking up 0 kills in total and getting absolutely nothing from that game at all. But Smokers Esport as well, they just struggled to get into zone, despite the fact it looked like they did able to survive the danger of that zone shifting towards that South Island initially.
You know what? In the likes of KI1 as well, of course, we didn't feel like they had the strongest game, but they got 8 points in this game, right? And we talked about maybe a 9-10 point average for this group stage, and getting 8 points is not too bad of a game, because just because they didn't make it to the end game doesn't mean they didn't get decent points, and those 8 points count quite a lot. But in the likes of teams like TES Esport, Spark Esports, that will remain to be a rough situation for them, and maybe the match in Sanhok in game 2 may switch things up, but if they can't really hold those down or keep their players together and play confidently, then you are maybe losing half of your odds there.
Yeah, Renger's team there also, of course, securing that third position, just was not able to take down the second position because of Royal Knights being able to outlive them. They do pick up, though, now a total of 32 points, and going into now second game, they have, I think, still 3 games to go. They still definitely have a chance here, Tarzan, to be able to get themselves inside a solid position of that top 16. But I think now looking forward towards the side of Miramar, and looking at now the second game, no, not Miramar, excuse me, Sanhok, being that more hectic game and being that more fast-paced game, it was very slow in terms of game number 1. Not much fighting. It was more just about that rush at the end towards the beachfront. Now it's going to be a completely different ball game for some of these teams.
Especially with a map like Sanhok, man. You often teams don't use cars quite a lot, right? So that means you need to know how to be sure and safe on foot. You cannot rely on that car speed, right, to outrun your enemies. That makes that studying of the game more important. If you know the rotation routes and the drop spots, you can really target attack a particular team. And Sanhok is the map to show that, I think, in particular. And for teams that took that initiative, right, they should shine. Right? They find that one strongest rock, like one small watchtower, and they can just eliminate the whole team. Right, and that is something that I really want to see.
Yeah, I think it will be about how these teams play their positioning inside the snaky map of Sanhok. But don't go anywhere, because that will be on your screen soon. But before we get there, we'll take a quick break and then come back into the action. So stay tuned, guys. Hello and welcome back to day 3 of the PUBG Mobile Club Open United Kingdom Spring Split 2021. We just consumed the entree on Erangel, where the Uncles UK were the ones that chewed up their first chicken dinner of the night. And you guys at home can take out some sweet loot yourselves and check out the smartphone technology by our sponsor Xiaomi, creating innovation for everyone. Of course, I am Highland Wolf, joined as always for game number 2 by Professor Tarzan, and oh boy, it was an interesting first game.
Very interesting. Speaking of uncles who took that win, obviously, they had 11 points before that game, and they have now got 38. So more than tripled their points in the matter of one game. And that is the way that you need to see it, right? Guys, like for all these players, that is the possibilities out there. But you know what? Also tell me, Highland Wolf, about that middle table. I think those point differences are showing us some trends right here.
Oh, the middle table is looking super spicy right now. If we look, of course, at 13th to 19th position on that table, there is only 3 points between all of those teams. And obviously we have at the bottom in 19th position, Fools Esport there with 31 points. And in 13th, Gaijin with 34. And keep in mind, Gaijin are over in 13th. They're not playing today. So that could be them going way down on that leaderboard with how tight these points are.
And that is just how tight these points are. 3 points to separate 7 teams. You know what? Sanhok can change that. And we are really ready for this game too. We talked about the possibilities for that. And you know what? Let's just make that start. The plane is now over that jungle of Sanhok. Beautiful map right there as we see that playing path. Very interesting. Going through from Cow towards that Ruins Bridge. So a little bit to the side here. And we always say, right, Highland Wolf, it is the smallest competitive map, making it more possible for the teams to go at wherever they want to go. But in a playing path like this one, spots like Camp Charlie, Docks Kampong on that southeastern coastal line will be a bit harder to reach, but I think with a bit of float, shouldn't be a huge problem.
Yeah, I think it will obviously be this even split of teams because of how this playing path is. They can go where they like, where they feel comfortable with. And you see, particularly keep in mind around that boot camp area, Smokers and Uncle are going to be competing for that central location. And as well, you see Wild over in Paradise Resort. An interesting zone shift, though, not something we usually get to see, and something we get to see twice now, just like yesterday, where we see that zone go up towards that northeastern side.
And I think that will mean, most importantly, Highland Wolf, is that for the teams that drop on the northwestern island and the southwestern islands is just get the hell out, you know, like it's probably going to be a main island finish. So they need to pace those rotations, know how to scout when they cross those bridges in areas like Painan or the Camp Charlie Bridge. But meanwhile, we have a little bit of a standoff between Risk Esports and Cyrex ESP.
Yeah, Cyrex ESP going to open that door into the loving arms of Alan from Risk. Through that window, Phantom will take the shots and he will go down. And that will be the first knock-up as Cyrex now Hazard comes in from the back foot. But the damage has already been done and Alan enters away through into that house. And Hazard now coming ever closer though as Phantom will just be firsted out. Hype as well on the flank side.
Oh my god, getting punished there, not knowing the limits of the third-person peek. Not just only in Ridgeline situation, guys, but Doorway as well. The return knock will come through, though, as the round 2 comes in, and that will be Hype taking that one for Cyrex.
Keep in mind, though, Risk also lost one as Detective now also down. Trojan gets snipped by Deadpool, and that will be a 3rd to fall. And now we see Cyrax really bringing in the pain. Only one more in this pain train for Alani to fall down. That will be the Quadra and the clean. Now 3 members of Cyrax coming together. Alani nowhere to run. From behind, from the front, Cyrax will enter. And Alani best try pull off a miracle play. They're inside the house. Alani's
Oh.
now retreating. I don't think they quite know where Alani is, and this could be now time to try reposition for a better chance to take down this 1 versus 3, but the fights go too quick. The pre-fire not on target, and Deadpool will finish that one off. And so will the entire squad of Risk just fall down.
Oh, such a rough start for Risk. They told me they're confident going into this night, but for a start like this on Sanhok going out first and only getting that one kill. Oh, I wonder what's going on through their minds right now. You know what? That is part of the challenge of this game. Meanwhile, we mentioned this potential clash around boot camp between the Game 1 winners, Uncles, and side of Smokers, a team that's shown pretty strong in their day one. They are respecting each other's positions for now, though, and I'm looking forward to see how they rotate onto this, because Bootcamp has a lot of potential to show other rotations, but they may have different ideas to take a different powerful spot.
Yeah, I like the position there from Uncles. They take that north side of boot camp, which is where that zone is edging towards. So you see Smokers, they actually just have now left boot camp altogether. They are going to reposition for a new way into this zone, because you can bet your hat here, Tarzan, that they're not going to be caught out by these flashy rotations from, and those hard shifts, of course, from that zone.
Yeah, for sure. And that is Smokers being very decisive, like not to hold around that position too long, not to get stabbed from behind. Another position that is important to be decisive is exactly here. Camp Alpha, if you don't get looted up early and get control on that northwestern island mountains, you may just get out rotated. But meanwhile, let's not forget about where that phase 1 circle is. It's mainly on that main island. So I guess Cyrix just gonna put their guns away and just run as fast as they can so that they can make it to that eastern coastline. And let's not forget, though, the side of KI1. We mentioned how last game wasn't the best one for them, and but Cyrix got a pretty decent one. They've got a 3rd place, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's starting to look like I1 here are comfortable around this Camp Alpha area of Sanhok. They did drop over here in the first day of play, and they obviously did not so bad themselves in terms of their first day, obviously taking those 72 points from game day number 1. Also now, keep in mind, in pole position on the leaderboard with 80 points in total. They are the team to beat here going into game number 2, and they also need to be aware that they are outside of this zone. Still 200 meters to go, and they do not want to be gatekept.
And this is a time to show how good they are in knowing the defensive angles, right? They know on that northwestern island, after dropping there so many times, that the mountains are scary. But if they have that knowledge, they know how to rotate around. And meanwhile, the side of TES team, we saw them going down pretty early. No, it was TS Esports, my apologies, that went out the first team, okay, like at 16th place, I think, in the game just now. But TS team wasn't so much better, as they got wiped by the one player of KI1. So they need to show a better gameplay in this. And V12 as well, a team that went for that very far drop on Sammy, now relying on that pickup to rotate into circle. Still another 600 meters to go.
I think this will be the story, right, of some of these teams, particularly around that Ruins area. We saw them drop many teams, or a cluster of teams, down over that South Island. It's going to be all of them rotating up. And we talked about as well how KI1 here were going to be able to not be gatekept by the side of Cyrix. And Cyrix here are on their way faster into zone, faster towards the entrance to that main island, and they are going to be the ones, you see Blaze and Ash on this front line towards KI1. They are going to be the ones to try to stop that rotation.
I don't know how good it is to stay around this area, just because the majority of the zone is on the other side, on the main island. So Cyrix need to assess that quick as they use that vehicle to maneuver, but Uncles are here to strike after the went like really strong momentum, and they will get the first knock onto TES.
TES make it a double here as they will just lose 2 now inside the buildings on the front side. And now Arga comes round just to finish off Rainbow as well. The smoke through the roadside as they now make their way to the second half of the TES squad. TES Timo, Diari and Didar now looking to try reposition. They won't be able to take down Rebo. Rebo will fall first. Didar trying to stop that rotation, but they are already across. And now the danger really here starts to show for the side of the TES team and how they can actually come together themselves, because you see that third person Big Didar goes down to a sliver of HP. The grenade won't be cooked though for now. The reload gonna come out and the shots through that door as Didar keeps himself alive for now.
I think that's showing a little bit of lack of experience there, but I think at this caliber we should know or expect players to know the limits of the third-person peak. So Didar there, a bit of a mistake, but the good news is they got one knock, but it will turn into a bit of a stalemate, and the third party might be very strong in here. Let's see on the screen there, side of Spark Esports already in the area.
You see though, TES team looking to try reposition and take this fight. Diari has moved around. They did get that knock onto Uncles, but it's going to be so hard. Didar trying to make it happen though. As they try and make the 1 versus 2, the Uzi's not going to reload out as they jumped over that window. Mistake made, and that will be him out of the game. And it will only be TES now with 1 player alive. Diari keeping themselves safe for now, but for how long?
You know what, with this northern shift as well, it will put a lot of options for the teams that rotated on that western side. In the likes of Cyrix, they are heading towards Hatin right now. They can make it all the way through that north part to Tap Bot and Cow, and that might be to their advantage, but a little bit of a team kill situation going on here as they knock Saint down. And but you know what? This might be friendly banter. Welcome to the United Kingdom. Banter is the word. It's something that we love in our soul, really.
That would have been an interesting one on camera to catch, but they keep it alive, all their full squad. Still 4 kills for the Uncles, going strong off of that chicken dinner with their first squad wipe. Meanwhile, in the background, though, V12 did make a rotation. As you mentioned, these teams are coming now into the center. We have hit phase 2. That zone has popped, and you see also another team looking for a bad time right now is, of course, Uni team. They have 1 knocked right now as the rest of Rangers move their way up this hillside.
Oh, but you know what? I don't really like that open fire from Renga. They didn't really get a finish, and look at the rock that they're taking right now. The escape strategy is very, very limited. As long as Uni team keep hard peeking that, there will be no escape for U3Q and the side of Zalut, I believe.
Yeah, Ranger's team, they just have to be aware of actually what they're trying to take versus the position and where teams behind them will be coming from, as you mentioned. But Uni team, such a strong position on the edge of this zone on the high ground, they will be able to gatekeep their opponents, but they also need to be careful here, right? They are in the edge of zone, and they need to still make it in towards the center themselves. We should take note from that first game that what just happens to you, how quickly your team will fall if kept on the back foot. And now comes also TES team for even more onto Rangers as U3Q just having a bad time right now, sandwiched between 2.
And that is the problem with hanging just outside of the zone. You don't really know the plan, right? You want to get in, you're a little bit choked, but you don't know where there's a team coming from behind, and that is TES team trying to capitalize on that rotation. But they still need to go through quite a lot of grounds to make it into the circle. And not going to be an easy one, especially for Ban. That dip right there, very challenging to get through.
For sure. And I tell you what is also for sure here is Zalut here on that flank side could be the next one to fall to the hands of TES. But he is snaking his way. He is making it into zone. Not so much can be said for, of course, for TES, who stopped to pick up that kill, 200 meters behind. That zone has now engulfed them. And meanwhile, Uni, just on the edge, they're going to move towards their center of zone. The center being taken by Smokers. You talked about their rotations preemptively, trying to get a strong position. They've done just that.
And it's so hard to predict, right? Like it is Sanhok, but I think Tapmok should be a pretty good position there because if it ever shifts towards the northern side, can stop a lot of those crosses through that main road. And
Well, there you
I
go.
think that is going to be important because all these teams may be funneled into that southern half of the map. Don't want to challenge Paradise Resort. They will end up in that little bit of hill under that Tatmok Road. And these teams need to make that wide rotation. Look at the abundance of team on that southern side. Still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams along there. And they may need to do that wide rotation in the anti-clockwise manner to make it into the northern parts.
The grenade bounces off the rock, and that's gonna feel bad, man, because the loot could have gone down there, but won't go down. Instead, just to the hand of Hamodi, and they do make it work as the second grenade lands on top of his face. And Uni team now looking to try and make their way with that one knock safely back into zone. I like, though, the rotation coming out from B12 we saw earlier on that map towards the side of Mong Nai on that eastern end. They're going to have that free terrain and that free real estate realistically on that side of the map, and then from there they can move their way up towards Cow if need be. Do you think, though, that Cow is one of these compounds these teams should be looking at as well?
I think they might think about it, but it's so important to just get it in so they can stop getting damaged by the blue, really, because it's such a far location, and I think they need to just play by what's in front of them, and that should be the plan for the majority of these teams in Sanhok right now.
As well, you see the side of Spark Esport trying to make their own assault into zone through the Paradise Resort section. So two are driving the Uncles UK their way through into center. And I feel a sense of confidence right now. You see them coming up to Paradise Resort to the side of not V12, excuse me, Wild Esport here, controlling this compound. They have done all game here. Aga on top of that rock, looking to try take one, doesn't quite find it though. The health will stay strong for the side of Wild right now. Don't lose any.
Oh, it's so tricky. I think this is the time or the chance for Wild Esports to show what they're made of. Jumping in Paradise Resort in early game is one way to play it, and now that it's in mid game that you want to hold it down, that is a completely different game plan, especially coming up against them with the momentum the game one winners, the Uncles coming in. Destroy and the rest of his team from Wild Esports really need to show up in here.
3-1 split coming from Wild, and I think that is really the danger, right? They're one member on the flank side. If they go down, that's half of Paradise Resort they're open to Uncles just to enter from. And once you've let them enter, it's so hard to try control exactly where they are because of the amount of cover and positional hiding spots here you have on Paradise Resort. You see them now already entering that building through that flank side. Also keep in mind KI1 also entering their way to V12, though they will take a couple onto 4gen as Hader will be the second one to fall to Gene's hand. Spark will also find one themselves, though, on to the side of Sons of Odin. Sons of Odin, they were so strong on day number 1 in Sanhok, but a grenade really just pulling it now into the hands of Sons of Odin. The pain of Gyro on the front door. Almost Gyro gets blown up.
They're all clumped right now. That leaves the possibility for Spark to pincer this, and this is no good because the blue zone can come in really soon. That hard shift going to Cow may be just like the factor that can take all these teams down. Papa Blue is going to come in soon, and now still going on. Sons of Odin need to hold down this compound defense.
You see Sinnoh on the front door. Now comes Gyro as well for the double engagement on the flank side, but they're keeping it covered. Almost one falls to Sons of Odin. Sanya solo. The team captain has to hold down stronger. The Molotov burns them down. And now comes also the side it goes from indoors. They're entering here the house. They want these kills, and they are trying their best. Hanging on as his zone and goals, all 8 players. And now comes the drops. 3 down. 2 for 1 for Sons of Odin. And now it will be 1 also falling again for the side of Spark. Now making the entire squad though of Sons of Odin, they with the help of the blue zone finally enter to lead away the squad, and they take 4 kills.
Oh my god, so painful to watch. These neutral fights, right, in a compound that you didn't expect to take, but you ended up needing to just hold it down because of the situation changing, enemy suddenly wrapping around. That was such a hard one. I do wish them coming back stronger though. Meanwhile, we mentioned Tat Mok, and this is KI1 in here trying to hold it down. One not onto them right now, but they've got a very interesting split to stop these teams coming from the southern side. Uncles may be feeling the wrath of that one player, but he's getting found right now. Moha gets punished with his position. The snake is down. The plan is faulted, and the Uncles will live another day.
I'm surprised that they sent Mohar here so aggressively up front. They have such a strong moat here. Really, this road is going to stop all of these teams coming into the entrance of Tatmok, but also Uncles are making it work as they also take one onto Wild Destroy. And now they will start to be engulfed as well themselves by this blue zone. You see the rest of Uncles now having to not only fight with one team, but the blue zone itself to fall down, make it a triple, and Uncles will be completely wiped out of this game. You see that Zono has centered around Cow. We talked about its importance here before, and it will be the side of Cirx to control that compound.
And Xerix just need to study Cal right now, if they haven't already, having that compound, but not guarding the other entry spots of that city may be the problem of their positions right now. They will center up, though, on that southern side of Cal, and meanwhile, all these teams just going down to the blue.
The blue zone has not been kind with how this zone has shifted so brutally north for these teams, but the team's still alive. The 7 here making it work. Wild are slowly edging their way. You see on a hillside towards the side of Cyrex ESP, towards the side of Cyrex here in Tatmok, and excuse me, and you see now then move closer in. And I think it is also important here to note that the side also of Cyrex ESP, they are open ground right now and open for kills. You see Hazard is just in the entrance, but bullets are going into the car, my friend, and Big Boss just goes down.
Oh, a very good reflex there. A little bit too bold there, getting punished. But Cyrex ESP has a healthy amount of kills right now. That might just be the edge position that they can get, and they can maybe outlive certain teams. Of course, with the position knows they are feeling the pain right now.
The blue zone now phase 6 here is Cyrex still controlling all the meanwhile smokers came from that north side. They are slowly entering, as well as you see the side of also TES team from the south western end. It is this hold of the edges zone that is so difficult though. Hazard has fallen. Deadpool, all they have is a tree to their name. In that, it is not going to be enough. Hype can't even get around the corner.
Oh, that's such a hard one. But the clash will be happening right here. And that's TS just gone. Cyrex, hold it down.
Cyrex completely wipes out the entire squad of Test Team, and that will be out of the game in 5th position. See you later, my friends, because you will have to wait until game numero 3. And now it will be the side of Smokers making their own engagement, though. Keep in mind, B12, a full squad looking to try and make it work. You see, they also find in the back foot. Cyrex find one onto the side of Cyrax as well, but now all the meanwhile, while they trade, V12 just enter and say thank you very much for the position, my friends, and they will be the ones to be controlling now, Cow.
Oh my god, back to this type of game. This type of play that required those senses, the awareness, limiting footsteps, using audio cues, trading, moving, and just like time rotation. And this is V12 now crossing. Cyrex is crumbling right now.
Lucy is just snaking their way indoors. All meanwhile, full squad of V12 looking to make it work. Smokers so have control of the zone, and Top Notch has his own tree here to protect him. But how long will the palm tree defend his position? Not going to be long, as that wall should do also work potentially for Top Notch as he edges his way round it. You see Smokers, though, they don't want to let this engage happen as the zone has gone towards the south end. Phase 7 has started to shrink once again now as well. Smokers in the center alongside Cyrax ESP.
Oh, the last guy there, Hazard may be able to get some points if he knows how to stay quiet. Meanwhile, Ash just goes down, the brilliant nade comes through. Lucy is the last one sending. It's going to be a 3v4, v1v1.
V12, just one door separates them from the open arms of Smokers, and now it's Top Notch goes down first. They have to be careful of this engagement with Khan and Co. also making their route round to try find a flank position. Smokers cut them off at the start though, and despite their 10 kills, they need to be a little bit more patient. Smokers, a grenade comes over onto Jam, but they dodge it out for now. Instead, it will be the grenade from B12 straight into the hands of Ace, and they will get knocked. Now the reset comes out from Smokers, covering up each other, and B12 can engage once again. Hasnat coming round to Smokes, looking to try and make it work, but Hasnat will drop as well. You see V12, John, and Can also making that engagement as Tabby, Ace, One Shot, all they can do, trying to revive Ace right now, with One Shot going to potentially looks to chuck the grenade, decides not to. The Molotov, bit of a mistake potentially here. This it stops the engage, but also V12 can't engage through that Molotov smoke and fire as well.
I think both teams have really predictable positions, and this is the time to play a reflex game, knowing how to trade, how to delegate, as well as knowing when to stop moving. That is such an important skill right here. I'm still waiting for these players to really sensibly limit that type of information being given away.
I'm still waiting on Cyrax to show their head. Keep in mind, Hazard here is still alive, but B12 here inside the shed. They're looking to try control this game themselves, trying to edge whatever position in this zone they can. Phase 9 now looking to make it the final 10, as that will just be a couple moments remaining before it shrinks once again, and this is when the teams are going to make the move. The grenade goes to half health for 2 as Smokers, but Zone goes to a V12, and that will be the engagement they looked for. Keep in mind, Cyrax still alive though, over the wall, looking to try hope that Smokers take down a little bit more, tickle of their health bars, as it will be the entrance. Khan just trying to pre-fire, trying to do their best as a second goes down for V12. Smokers, I think they found Hazard. You need to wake up, my friend, but it's not going to be enough. One goes down, but now the damage has been dealt. Smokers have now fallen. Only Ace alive versus a 2 V12. Phase 9 shrinking in. Top Notch just gets smashed by the blue damage, and Khan, all he can do is live, but it won't be long enough. Smokers take the second chicken dinner.
Oh my god, I've got no words there. So much happened. I think I will need to break that down in a bit, but you know what? Let's give it to Smokers first, right? So they've got that chicken dinner. I think is the third one in this PMCO UK, and V12 with a second place and 10 kill finish, 22 points added to what they had, and that will bring them up the leaderboards. They are challenging the positions like where Serix and Sons of Odin were, and this is a very important game for them. Same for Cyrax ESP as well. I think it's hands down one of their best games with 20 points, 10 positional points, 10 kill points, and yeah, just waiting to look at that standing right now, Highland Wolf. But that phase 9, I have so much to talk about.
Yeah, of course, KI1, no, falling in 14th position, just like we talked about V12 in game number 1 in their 14th position. But V12, they have pulled it back, unlike what KI1 were able to do. And despite the fact KI1 hold on with only 1 point out of that game. Smokers have closed that gap, now up to 74 points with B12 on 73. You talked about the middle of the table being close, so is the top.
Yes, for sure. And I mean, whew, you know what? I can't wait. I want to talk about that endgame. Phase 9. There is one very textbook way, and I am actually very surprised as well as disappointed to not see it. With that title circle with one barrier in between, the plan is, guys, is to give all your first dates to one player. And the rest of the team should go around and do as much damage as possible. And if you can also shoot the other healing guy on the other teams that's trying to pull off the same strat, you will win. But I didn't see that. There's no allocation of medication. And that was the opening knock as well. Was from KI1 double knocking themselves with a frag grenade. So there's a series of considerations, mistakes, and a series of events that happen in the end zone that leave me really, really puzzled, Highland Wolf.
Yeah, puzzled indeed, but also questioning their position now in the rankings. You see the likes of Uni Team that we talked about at the start. You see, of course, the like of even Spark Esports. Although they seem to almost be getting to those late game stages, they're not able to. And yes, they've got 14 kill points, and that might be more than many of these other teams, but they're still 25th because they're not able to get these placement points. And I think that is the story of where these teams lie, right, Tarzan? They have to make that decision of if they want to go for these kill points or if they want to risk it all and maybe just be safe instead for placement points. And maybe it's just not working out for them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're back onto Miramar later on. The bigger map, the macro rotations, etc., with more possibilities, and once again, they didn't have a lot of data to work with, but they just need to have enough and have more of those, dedicated and clear game plans rather than the half-hearted ones that sometimes get themselves stuck in the middle.
Yeah, I think this is where it all lies now. Miramar is going to be that open field game, all about the positioning of these players. And if it's going to be anything, the zones like we've seen in the first two games, that is really, really going to test these teams and how good their rotations can be. But as we say, Miramar's game number 3, that is going to be a short break away. And we'll see you guys on the other side. Don't go anywhere. We're back for day 3, match 3 of the PUBG Mobile Club Open United Kingdom Spring Split 2021, sponsored by Xiaomi, creating innovation for everyone. Moments ago, we just saw Smokers Esport clean up the Sanhok starters, but will they be able to keep their momentum through the Miramar main course? That is the question. I'm Highland Wolf, joined by Professor Tarzan as always. And as I say, Tarzan, this leaderboard is opening up across that top side too. And can Smokers hold that second position?
It's really hard to say. I mean, they've only got 7 points to catch up to KI1 Esports. If we look at that top of the leaderboard as well, it's going to be a 4 point difference between the second and the fifth place. But bear in mind that gap in the middle is opening right now. If we look at in the likes of V12 at fourth position, they've got 73 points. But at seventh position, which is now held by Cyrex ESP, they've got 53 points, a 20-point difference there, just in the matter of a 3 position difference. So that is going to be a bit hard to catch up. These teams need to know where they are in relation to each other when it comes to that standings and start making some move. Of course, playing their own games important, but maybe this is time to target some of these teams, finding the particular weaknesses and just attack it right now. There's no more time to waste, Highland Wolf. Officially, all of these teams have played 6 games. So 50% of their games are played. They've only got another 6 to prove themselves.
Yeah, and I tell you what is also concerning me, though, still, is KI1 Esports, because they have only got 1 point from that last game. They only got, what is it now, a really handful of points over that first 2 games. So they aren't having that strong lead. And this is what we talked about, right? These teams at second to fifth position, they're starting to catch up. And it's no longer just 1 or 2 teams ahead. And with Lack and Ostra still to come, MVP there over tomorrow's games. honestly, they could be the ones to really pull ahead of every single one of these other 30 teams. But of course, it is still 2 games to go, still 2 games for these teams to pick up their points, and it is going to be on that Miramar map as always, where these teams really have to show us their positioning and how they will take that high ground advantage.
And with that plane path going from Monte Nuevo all the way to Impala, that will be a slightly off-center plane path and slightly to that southern side, making positions like Cruz del Val, Water Treatment a bit harder to reach, but a lot of the favorite drop spots showing by these teams, for example, Los Leones, is very easy to grab, but that may turn that phase one into a very interesting one, having 3 or even 4 teams potentially in that big city can add a lot of spice and action to this early game. Meanwhile, Picardo, we love that drop in Classics and now contested. I think this is round 2, what we see in Picardo, 2 teams dropping the Royal Knights and TES in that right now with that phase 1 circle going to the southern side.
Once again, the South Circle here, just like yesterday. Deja vu here on the zones for phase number 1 as it shifts towards that South Island. See Smokers here going to be up against the Uncles, the 2 chicken dinner winners of the first 2 games tonight. But on the kill feed, it will be V12 to strike first versus KI1.
Oh, this position, right, on that edge there, some of these teams will try to not charge through the center zone when they come back from the north part of the map, so they may just cruise through these main roads around Monte Nuevo and add a lot of pressure through the potential third party. And the Smokers have got a really, really decent game, and they are picking back up their pace in this second day of their play, and this is the time to show us what they can do. And this one here, Uncle's also playing strong tonight, so 2 top teams in here trying to be the kings of Monte Nuevo.
Risk Allen takes down Gyro as well on that kill feed. Meanwhile, Uncles will be the ones to fall first as Eslam gets knocked. And this is interesting to note here that they lose their starting side from the flank there. The 2-2 split coming out from Smokers as they finish that one off. Tabby will be the one to pick up that kill. Now that opens up the door for Uncles, really. They had the strong position versus splitting the 2-2 split of Smokers, but because they lost that flank side, they now are the ones in danger themselves. You see Aga in the front line could be that next to fall, but all the meanwhile just waiting beside that window for their opportunity.
Oh, and Smokers just kind of baiting running in the open. They are not using quite a lot of that hard cover, so they need to know how to play this, giving away a lot of audio cues. So the side of Aga still trying to third person peek, finding for the right time to strike might be rewarded for that patience.
Yeah, I think the rest of Uncles here, they need to come together, right? They need to be able to take this as a free man. V12 Khan, also you lose now 2 members of V12. It will be Mohan now to return to full. They take back the aggression, but keep in mind Khan beforehand is still out of the game. Hackshot, the only one here in the entrance right now alongside their teammates, have now come up to join them together. As you see, Andoka here also round the window. They peek, but now come through the door, and it will be Anoka to take down the knock. 2 fall now, and that will be certainly a second one here from the knock to fall down as well for the side of V12. The reload comes out though from Anoka. They're getting ready to strike again, but the revive has come on to Khan.
I'm just waiting on some information for the third player of KI1. It's going to be officially a 3v3. And with V12 getting shoved towards the side of the city, that off angle can come through. As we see on the top right of the map there, the third player is all the way across the other side of San Martin. So he has to watch this really close right now as Khan and his friends come in to sweep this compound. KI1 really needs this. V12 have a good game, not so much for KI1 on Sanhok.
It's a pre-fire war coming out, a war of attrition of who will be able to strike first in the start of this game. Jan will find a peek onto Hackshot, lands from the Uzi, and that will be one goes down. Zanoka will return though onto Khan, but not before he gets picked off as well. And despite the fact that third-party rotation was also coming out from KI1, it's not fast enough. They lose both members, and it will now be the pressure to try finish off 2 before the third man revive comes in.
Oh my god, KI1's down to a solo really, really early in this game 3. And it's such a heartbreaking situation for them because they had 72 points, right? Before the start of this day. After those 2 games, they only got an extra 10 points or so. And down to a solo so early, oh my god, Hisoka really needs to carry and play that solo game like the clutch player, the best player in the lobby to make that count. Meanwhile, Haksha tries to cross him, but that will be found by Khan taking the 3rd kill at the price of 1 player from themselves.
Yes, yeah. See immediately there, Hisoka there just running for their life. The best decision that they can possibly be making right now, just as you mentioned, to keep themselves in the game points and be able to get the placement points in total for the side of KI1 because they are in desperate need of it. Is the top of that leaderboard. Crunchy's down on top of them. But in the other words of this map, keep in mind that it's still that south end zone that these teams will be having to rotate to. And seeing so far away, 500 meters or so, that's going to be a mammoth task for them to take that on. But also going to be an interesting task for Sons of Odin to now take on the side of Wild, as 2 members of Wild already control this Rust compound.
And it's very smart for Sons of Odin to not challenge that because they know they didn't have the priority going there. Knowing that it's going to be really hard to charge, they will use that ridgeline to rotate around. And you made a really good point there, Highland, about the southern circle. Particularly on Miramar, right? Those parts of the map are not very highly favored. With that type of position, that makes the center position very hilly and very open right now. And with a situation like this one between TES and Royal Knights in Picado, like with this type of a stalemate, basically, it can just take so long and forever, and that will really slow down that phase 1 for both of these teams.
For sure. And I think what also we need to keep in mind, though, is the fact that we see the likes of even Chumacera right down on that south end going to be one of these compounds, the core places that these teams are going to be looking to control, coming out from that El Pozo city, perhaps. Also, the question comes in once again, do teams start to rotate down to that south side?
Oh, it's really hard to say, right? Because no one really wants to go there. I mean, Valdemar is one popular spot. Also, those spaces of those hilly parts to the south of Los Leones. But other than that, a lot of those teams, that's not going to go for that, right? Los Higos, we've seen some of those drops maybe in some other scrims, but yet to see any team dropping there tonight. And that phase 1 will push them to an area that they're not used to. So that will be very interesting to see how they adapt to that. Those qualities when it comes to immediate assessment of terrains, etc., will be key in this Miramar game.
It is that quiet game for now, but a zone, as you see on your screens, will now pop over a hard shift back over to the side of Los Leones, and the edge, Chumacera, will be on that western side. Many teams are going to be inside that zone. You see in that Los Leones area, the likes, of course, Risk, and also many others starting to come together to really take control of the edge of that city and really have not only the city in control, but also the high stack buildings on the edge there that will provide such good awareness of teams rotating around the open land just outside.
I think Los Leones is very important right now, right? So because it's still phase 2, it can come back and shift back to the northern side. With the city that huge that you can out-knowledge and outplay your enemy, if you find the best building or 2 with a good split, you can control the rotations around, you can keep your options open into later phases, and that will be something that I really want to see in this phase 2 right now. Meanwhile, Royal Knights need to hold this down. TS wants to push this.
TS, they've made a slow aggression, floor by floor. The Riot Squad here looking to try take down Royal Knights, but they will be the ones to strike first, as it will be they are falling down onto their knees. Now comes Basta with the Uzi, will be too aggressive though, gets knocked up himself, and now comes Starboy as well for secondary support. Has to be careful though, Cable not quite with this fight just yet. The revive comes through, but Ali's going to need to be revived too, because he now will come down those stairs. Starboy finds a second reload, so on the Uzi fires a couple of shots down to 17, but not to be feared just yet. Finds the spray through the wall, and that will be one going down.
Oh my god, they held it down after all. It's not completed yet with that revive, but Cable is trying to support from the long range. I don't think he has quite enough angles, but if the building, the side here of Starboy, if he can bait some movements out, maybe Cable will be able to do his job.
But so is they are holding an Uzi of his own, comes to the rooftops to finish off this fight. Having control of that staircase is going to be crucial. Really choke out the position of TES team and make them come to Starboy.
But Cable has his position given away, so that will be a very hard one. I think the maneuver by Starboy to the roof is good because they can bait them to use those stairwells, right? But with that position given away by Starboy, not Starboy, it's Cable. That will just slow down that movement, and now TS know what not to do, and they will just hold on in that 5 stack still.
Starboy still holding strong right now, but the blue zone now starts to eat up those health bars. You see Starboy is going to slowly get choked down. He needs to decide when he wants to heal, when he wants to shoot. As you see also TES team looking to try bait out a couple shots. Cable making a rotation in, but has been found by Ali.
Well, Ali just got superb eyes. They've just found Cable before Cable even tried to strike. But just look at that circle. Oh my god. It's a 50% and more in that circle. A hard shift to the southern side, forcing these teams to make a wide rotation into the parts of the map that they potentially don't have enough knowledge about.
We talked about how tough these zones were going to be, right? We talked about it's going to be the positioning that comes into play, but Starboy with the positioning inside this zone maybe fires too quick here. The Uzi now needs to be reloaded, and now comes the danger of DR from behind, strikes in the pan to smack him into the ground and cook him up at 500 degrees on the Miramar floors. It will now be, of course, his zone. Many teams from the north side. Look at those icons go. The colors into the north end of phase 3.
Oh my god. And Starboy had absolutely no mets there. No boost, no nothing. And look at Picardo right now, as so far from the next circle. And the speed that this phase 3 circle is choking and eating up the health bar is just going to be a really hard one. They can't really make any middle spots as well. Meanwhile, these teams coming into the northern parts of the circle having some troubles. The winners of last game Smokers are receiving and under pressure of a double knock right now. On top of them is Sparks Esports, a team that needs to prove themselves.
They needed to prove himself indeed, and through the smoke, Smokers will fall. They've got 2 down, only 1 remaining, and it will be Ace to try take it to them. Finds the first knock, still got 29 in his clip, and Ben will now come for the secondary support, but you can expect to be a little bit more passive. Instead, Ben won't go for the revive, gonna go for the first, will find it. Smokers go down in this 3rd game, out in last position.
Oh, that's just going to have a great momentum swing in this game. Meanwhile, just not happening everywhere. Teams, as they prioritize these compounds, loose compounds around that coastal line. The side of Spark can hold that down for now, and just playing absolute coastline right now is Cyrix holding that one down here. Meanwhile, Sparks want to clear another team. Now this building held by Uni team needs to be held down, but Ron will just need to be on support duty right now. It's going to be them trying to send in Sparks, trying to challenge this like a madman.
didn't take down Ben, and that's crucial here because Hamodi shouldn't be the one to revive. Really, they need to be on eyes for the fact that Gyro, already inside the building, is right on top of him. Gets a revive though, nevertheless. Sparks not as aggressive as we perhaps expected. They will just hold off for now, and also the heal comes through. And now it comes to this 2 versus 3 situation, but Sparks have taken a positional advantage.
Oh, this is going to be so interesting. All those skills when it comes to audio cues and pre-firing, the close quarter combat. Skills need to come through right now, and that's Hamodi trying to choke that side, almost takes down Ben, and that will be Gyro coming in to support. It might be a small 1v2 here as they continue this compound contest. The zone, though, will go over on that southern side still, and I think that will place that small island out. Uncles went for that one for around Los Higos, now needing to cross that bridge and enter from the western side.
But all the meanwhile, Uncle's passing underneath this fight between Uni Team and Spark Esports. Spark 2-1 split versus a 2 together of Ron and Hamodi, still patiently waiting to try find their opportunity in this fight. On the other end though, all of these teams getting positions in the zone as 4Gen smash open V12, but in return lose 1. Is now more teams from the side of Rengers come in. Spark also see this happening. They try to find the shots onto 1, but don't find the first. Instead, it will be Uncles to find 1 onto Insania for Sons of Odin. Down they fall behind the buggy in the tree. Gets caught out with Uncle's insane down. Saint going to be the one to find a revive.
And we mentioned Cyrix being strong, but they're just out of this lobby. Uncles, though, after that Game 1 win, I think that was enough momentum for them. Of course, one's not right now, one dead, but they have a decent spot to have multiple options to rotate from this western edge, and they are still stopping the rotation coming from Sons of Odin.
Still, these fights holding strong, these teams desperate to keep their advantage in their position. Still on that hill in that compound, these 2 teams together, but closing in all of the third parties. Sons of Odin coming up across that hillside have now eyes on Spark's balcony. They have that third man peek over the top to try take it. 4Gen lose 2 though, as it will now be Zaloot to find 1 onto gaming. And you see the side of Rengars just coming strong to 4Gen, but 4Gen Shoki is gonna smash 1 with a grenade, and now through the smoke, Zaloot's gonna look to finish it off, and that will be the cleanup in aisle 1, as it will be Zaloot to take the kills. 5 up for the side of Rengars, but still, you see some of 4Gen alive down south.
So many of these teams at the top of the leaderboards going down early. Rengers with the full team up and 5 kills. This is the game to take, maybe. It's now or never, because they've been lingering around that bottom or mid-range table for too long now. And like we mentioned, half of the game's done already. This is the time for them to shake things up. This is the time to make that momentum change. And this is also a great spot held by Uncles, holding it alongside Cyrix ESP on that southern edge, and that is going to be a lot of water in play, less of that in this next zone, and that will be Khan, the last player of V12 in that center position. I wonder how long he can hold that down for.
The sole player in the Phase 5 zone. Can he hold it down is the question. I don't think so. I don't have the confidence that with all of these teams, with Wild coming from the north, with Rengars from the east, his position just doesn't look likely to be able to hold. Not likely is either Uncle's position, as you see them just fall, but not before the side of Cyrix ESP will be returned, as they will find a double for Uncles. Still, minutes later, you see Spark versus Uni. They've not moved. They want to keep the position, but now they need to really get their boots on and start walking, because the zone is not in their hands. Ghost coming from the flank side
as well.
It is
Oh, that's a
closing
good
indeed,
position.
and Hamodi coming through down across the mountain top as Ghost now comes back up to the side. In the background, Sons of Odin tick up one themselves.
When uni teams just trying to charge through, they would have been staying for there for too long in that smoking car. That will be a price to pay maybe, but Spark will took that time to let uni team go first, and now coming in healthy vehicle still, but TS Rebel, the last one standing, will get crashed, and that will be them done out at 9th position. Spark live another day, 6 kills for this team that's at the bottom table with 3 players up still. This is once again maybe a game to change their fate in our tournament.
You see Sons of Odin on the other side to the north. They've lost Albert down. Only one remaining on that flank side. But the journey is being taken by Gyro inside this zone. Up front for his team. As you see inside the zone, V12 still alive, Wild trying to keep themselves strong. As you see that smoke in the center. Ghost will get popped by Bowler through the shack, and now Spark with their front man down will fall, and it'll be 2 members still to make it inside.
It's so hard to play the circle as well. You don't see it a lot, and you don't drop around here. So like I said, they need to assess it so quick, and that is Sparks trying to come into support at the position where the teammate just get knocked. Ben need to overlook right now if they want to stop Wild to continuously do damage to Spark Esports, and they will just lose that one. Oh my, I don't think that's a good one, but look at the zone continuously shifting away from the teams, and the players just fall like crazy at the moment. We're down to 6 teams. In split seconds, that tide have been changed. Those tables have been turned.
Uni in 7th, Sons of Odin in 6th position as they lose their final member in from the north side. Still, though, the full squad of Rengars making their assault their own path and their own fate into now phase 6. But on the other side, a forgotten team here for now, Risk Esport, still their own squad alive and still in zone. They are going to be the ones realistically, as Argus just going to melt down, I believe, slowly on the edge. They, Risk, are the ones that will challenge Wild.
I think the prime real estate is still on the northwestern side with a little bit of high hills now claimed by Wild Esports. And the South Rangers, we saw some potential from them, and they have a guy, and that scout has established the entry point, and that is them finding all these players from Risk across this zone as well. One knock onto Allen, and they're trying to grab more.
It will be the first from Rengars as Mizaki will find the knock, and the play zone will help just to push them in even further into the dangerous position in the dangerous arms of Rengars. But more immediately, Rengars have to be the ones to deal with Wild, because here comes Destroying Code, their full squad, their own squad here coming down the mountainside, still inside zone, whereas Rengars are not.
Rangers, I tell you, a little bit of stats here. They got 9 kills in the past 6 games, and they already have 11 kills in this single Miramar game. This is the much needed momentum. They've got some positions. They've got the numbers advantage. This is going to be so important for them. But while I like the split, using the different dips, they can maybe capitalize on this and trying to deal more damage onto Risk, a team that relied on the open circle on that southeastern side. Relying on that sense of security will actually be not in their favor.
Not at all, as you see Big Boss snipes up his second kill. 8 now in total for the side of Wild. But you see Rengars, they making still slowly their way towards the edge of that zone as far as they can go. That aerial view over these squads. Keep in mind, though, Khan is at third party, and we see the third party, the damage that they can potentially do in the second game. But Malik knows their position. And Khan needs to be aware of this. A 1v1 as Salute falls in the backside. This could now be danger for the side of Rengar's team as they need to try take it on two fronts. Malik comes back for the support as well, come into the front line, but it will be Big Boss to fall down first. Bowler now looking to find a strike onto U3Q, but won't find the angle for now as his teammate falls down in front of his eyes.
Oh my god. Rengar's trying to take two teams at the same time, sweeping all the southern parts as well, and U3Q just hold it down by himself, eliminating one player while just pushing them away, forcing them to run in the open. The timing of this last rotation is vital here.
Look at the side of Wild. They're going for the zone. They're looking for the position, but they find a knock against them as Zizzo will fall down first. The smoke's the only thing protecting him. And now it will be Malik here alongside the rest of Rengar's to create their own smoke road to try to defend against Wild, who have sucked up the position of this zone. These final two teams. Destroy dips back in, burns down into the ground because he will now be a sliver of hell. Dodges out the Molotov quick enough now, but not enough time to heal the jump into his death, and that will be now another for Salute. 15 whopping kills picked up for Rengar's team as they look to make it 17 in total. Zizzo, Bowler, the only two alive. You see the side of U3Q, the rest of Rengar's moving in. But Malik goes down, will find a knock from Bowler. They find what they need to, but a 1-for-1 return. And Bowler's the only one alive. The flank from Rengar as well down south as Mizagi looks to take the behind. Shot in straight into the back of Bowler. Wild Esports, there's nothing it can do. Just too much, two different angles. And it will be Rengar's team taking the third game.
A 32-point chicken dinner. The Rangers are back, baby. You know what? At 32 points, you can make it to the 19th spot just from that amount of points. But Rengar, they were at 34 points before. And after that one, they are up. They're up at 66. They can go up to maybe the top 6 or top 7. And that is so many points. They can overtake teams like Cyrus, EXP. Sons of Odin didn't have a good game, so will probably be overtaken as well. My god, and they will sit in that sweet position after this game 3.
Yeah, Smokers 4gen 10th for 4gen. KI1 there in 10th position. Sorry, 4gen in 12th, excuse me. It will also be just all of these top teams falling down again, Tarzan, in those end position points, earning minimal 1-2 points in total. Look now at B12. The ones that snipe up the pole position. Smokers stay in third position for now. You talked about Rengar's team, how strong a showing they had straight into 6th position with the double 60s.
And V12 is really coming strong in here. They got 42 points yesterday. They've officially doubled it, and they've got another game to go. Rangus and Wild Esports are onto those top parts of this leaderboard as well. That game just now has been huge for them. But look at 4 Generation. They was at 59 points yesterday, and they've only got 5 points so far today. And that is such a big misstep. And same for Sons of Odin. We wanted them to perform, but they only got 8 points once again. This last game, this second Miramar game as Erangel game of the night will matter so much. And this is the time, you need to have the strong mind and to come in to twist your fate. I love this term because that can literally be how it feels. Look at Rangus and Wild Esports. They've got a game like that. It could be a game like that for any of these teams if they can just adjust their heads, adjust their play, and trust each other.
It's just one game, one good game, like we just saw with Rankers, is all it takes to completely switch the leaderboard. But on the bottom side, still the danger zone for so many of these teams. even the likes of Uni Team, who are looking to try hold on to that compound before, don't manage to pick up the points they need in 20th position. Even the likes of Spark Esports, although they have moved up 3 positions, they need to move up at least another 6 to be in the safe zone, with still, as we mentioned, the other 15 teams to play tomorrow's 4 games.
Exactly. I mean, we just need to go on to a break quite soon. And you know what? It's so scary to think this, right? 8 games out of 12 would have been played for these teams tonight. And but hopes are still there. Like we said, strong games, just one game can just bring you all the way back. A 32-point chicken dinner demonstrated by Rangus to show you how to do it. And yeah, I just can't wait for this. It's going to be spicy, guys. And just stay on your seat right there. Go grab a sip of water like I'm going to. But we will see you in that last game of this day 3 PMCO United Kingdom on Erangel. I will see you shortly.
We've had 3 delicious games, but there's still the dessert to come on day 3, the PUBG Mobile Club Open United Kingdom Spring Split 2021, sponsored by Xiaomi, creating innovation for everyone. The leaderboard was almost as hot here as Miramar match we just came from, but where Erangel's team took the chicken dinner. However, we are about to cool it down with the sweetest of action on game number 4. I'm Highland Wolf, joined by Professor Tarzan, and I tell you something, Tarzan, this leaderboard is heating up right now. So many teams have been able to push themselves that much higher, but there's still a couple here that just aren't quite having the matches they want.
Yeah, I think for that point, I'm going to bring some spotlight onto Spark Esports. They are at 22nd place right now with 26 points, but 20 out of the 26 points are kill points. Having 7 games played, that means they are getting less than 1 placement point per game. So that shows a lot of indication in terms of where they need to work on. Rotations, timing them, not just like where to go, but how and when. And scouting, maybe, those are very, very important. And maybe they are been stuck on the edge in fights. So that might be something to look out for, because the rest of the teams, like Rangers that we saw last game, kind of in middle tier or bottom, and they just shot all the way up. So this is anyone's game. And you know what I also want to talk about? KI1. KI1 had 72 points coming into tonight, and they've got 11 extra points. If they repeat what they've done in day 1, they could have been in 140 point something right now. So this is a game for them to maybe pick it back up, and let's just not wait any longer. Game 4 on Erangel is on the way, baby. It will be going from that southwestern coastline through that Gatka field all the way to what I think to be the Milter factory area. So very, very southern playing path there. And I'm just waiting for Highland Wolf to compliment me for a little bit of that awareness.
I was going to say, you are smashing it with these like predictions right now. Your knowledge is impeccable here, Tarzan, as always. But it is obviously going to be up to see how KI1 can realistically shoot their own way back up to number 1 position. They have lost it to the side of B12, who now with 5-point lead over them have that pole position. However, as you do mention, it is about the side of TES. It's about Sparks. They are going to require a pop-off game now in this final match. If they do not, it is looking like it could be curtains for them unless they have the most exceptional day number 3.
And this playing path, right, Island Wolf, seems a little bit similar to what we've got in the game 1 of today. That means some of these teams are going to clash again. But in the likes of military base, seems like Roll Knights will be alone there. The other team's not going to challenge that. But speaking of challenging, Sons of Odin and TES seems to be having that round 2. They are ready for it. And that phase 1 circle will be a bit different though. We now have a northern phase 1 circle. So these teams can't hang around on that southern side, and TAS needs to find some ways to win this one this time.
Baited. We've had a south, north, south, now north again zoned for the final match here in game number 4. You talked about Sons of Odin looting their way up versus one of these teams that we talked about needing to get these points. TES team are going to have to not only maybe take out Sons of Odin to start their streak of kills, but if not, going to have to find some real damage later on going towards the end stages of this game.
And we know that, like the northern parts of the map as well, very tricky to play. We talked about position yourself round the river, so if it ever comes back down or if the circle's inconclusive, there's ways to play that. And meanwhile, you need another team that needs to show up against one of the top performing teams tonight. Uncles, we almost forgotten that they were at the bottom of the table before today, and they're now already in 10th position with 57 points. And so this is for them to grab, maybe using that momentum to continuously punish a team like Uni Team that haven't been able to pick up their pace.
Yeah, Uni team are on the bubble right now as well. One of these teams that are inside still the elimination area below that 16th spot to make it into the PMCO UK finals. They have still this fifth game, well, 5 games, sorry, excuse me, remaining, including this one. As you see their 2-1-1 split, looking to overlook, as you say, an exceptional Uncles in tonight's series of games. As Hamodi looks to be the first victim, but he runs back undercover. The shot's not quite in line.
Ooh, those VSS is something that I love to see. I want to see more of that, you know. It's such a sweet gun. And at that distance, his position may not be given away, but I mean, where else could it shoot it from if that was the cover for Hamodi there? We'll get back in cover. And maybe Uncles can pull a really good pincer formation, but the distance, as we can see on the minimap there between those players, a little bit far apart.
It is going to be about these rotations, right, Tarzan? About how these teams who are like Sons of Odin, 1,500 meters away from the zone, like you see Unity, 700, 800 meters realistically away here from safety in phase number 1. It's going to be about how do they realistically disengage from this fight and then be able to make it into zone first, and afterwards, then they can look at potentially gatekeeping the likes of Uncle.
And with these type of early drops, right, you know there are enemy parachutes around, so you might be overly focused on that, but it's also important to see what vehicles has spawned around that. So if you are under that blue pressure and you want to retreat away, there is that resource in there for you to use. And meanwhile, smokers, they've got one chicken dinner. They also done decently well in day 1, so quite consistent considering all the 7 games they played, and they're now in that South Georgia pool area, very comfortable for now, inside of the circle, not quite the center, but doesn't matter, with so much loot, and we'll have no contest for now. And sharing another parts close to South Georgia pool is Sirix, and another team that we quite like so far, Highland Wolf, showing a lot of consistency with some good kill point to placement point ratio, dead on 1-1, 35 kill points and placement points from Sirix.
Yeah, keeping the scores even right now. We'll see if they can pick up one more good match themselves. Also, we have now the side of TSE Sports making their rotation around. Again, into zone here. They are still, of course, 2,000 meters, one of the furthest teams away from the zone, but they do have the cars, they do have the mobility to make it inside. And I like that they're being speedy, being hasty about this one. They don't want to be caught outside the zone, because you saw how detrimental in game number 1, teams who failed to rotate quick enough getting just burned inside of the water before they even made it onto the beach. Burned also will be Unimeister as Uncle start their assault.
Oh my god, is that a triple knock? That is Uncles with so much like taste of blood in their mouth. They just keep doing it. But meanwhile, 2 other top teams are clashing, as we see on that kill feed. KI1 and V12 also clashing. But Uncles really want to wrap this up with some relative high ground. They pinch all the 3 players from Uni in that one small house.
KI1, B12, the 2 teams on the top of the leaderboard right now, but it looks like B12 we'd runs ahead. The grenade goes over into now the hands of Uni, but Uni will now also need to be careful. Hamodi over the wall looking for air slam. The peak jumps will be the side of 1-for-1 trade. It's now 1 falls on each side, but Uni coming in for the assault, looking to protect their team. Now distraction as they come back under to revive one inside the house. Now another wall peeks over, but not so lucky 1-for-1 trade. Alga coming in for support as Uni just lose another. Yes, they were able to pick up 1. Now comes the buggy as well as Insane drives over into the action. Uncles UK looking to try and make it 4 as Ron falls in, make it now the entire squad, and Uni team out on the second day.
Oh my god, I really just almost forgotten that Uncles only had 11 points in day 1. They're playing out of their minds right now. And let's not forget, KI1, we mentioned how they were not playing well today. Like 11 points or something so far, and they're already under pressure. from V12, a high performing team. But let's not forget about these parts of the map now shown on the map on the screen by Cyrex ESP and the side of Spark Esports. Both of these teams want them to show up now, already crossed that river, getting into some zone important that for them to control. And this is a really standard one, but Cyrex or pinch in that compound will give a lot of possibilities for Spark to strike from multiple angles.
Spark, they have these ridge lines to protect them. They have Gyro also coming in for support. I think what you would expect to see is potentially one of these Spark members to rotate around to that tree, right? Make it that 3-1 split and have another angle onto the side of Cyrex ESP, because they are in the open, Cyrex. They're a bit pinned. There's nowhere really to run apart from behind if they want to dare to make that attempt. But inside that center and inside all of that action, the zone will continue to shift towards them. You see that line of teams coming from the east all the way up to that southeast side. That's going to be where that action is going to really start to ramp up.
And this type of circle is really typical for teams to go for wide rotation to avoid all the congestion around Headshot Hills and Rozok, as well as all those bridges. And that might be the plan for TS, or these teams on the southeastern side may be rotating around Yasnaya to get to the northern half. I think that should be some textbook plays that a lot of these teams are going to go for.
I'm also interested, right, in the side of Smokers. You see Smokers rotating up towards that north side. Meanwhile, the Rengar's team rotating dangerously beside the side of KI1. They are looking to try and make the kills. They will find you 3Q. And now on that rotation, they lost one. Coming off of that strong chicken dinner, struggling to make it inside this phase 2 zone, but they're looking to try and make a return. They have now confirmed that killer will be only 3 members. Meanwhile, though, Ren don't find any.
Oh my god. But I mean, KI1 may have to just cross that river. With that position from Rengas, they have a little bit priority if the zone continues to shift towards the northern side. But they will just disengage from that one, giving away and that gatekeeping opportunity as they rotate through, but can see some rotating members coming from the side of TES team.
TS Esports here, the 3 members here just rotating their own way, their own path into zone, going to completely ignore Rengar. Is not going to look for that fight. Is also 4th generation pick up their own fight just ahead. You see the health bar starting to drop as Hader will also fall. Meanwhile, still it is Sino being a bit too aggressive. Their hands falling down to the hands of Cyrex ESP, and really now the engagement starting to fall a little bit flat because only Ghost the one alive right now, and he's not looking so hot himself.
It's just really hard to push this compound. Of course, it gives you the possibility to pinch it, but with them all holding a particular angle, Sparks really need to know what's the go sign, right? Sending that one in and not really timing it, capitalizing maybe on a potential knock, did not go in their favor, and they will just go for that rotation. Actually lost 3 on that one, so it's disaster from Spark. We mentioned them already just now, and they seems like is going to struggle for this last game.
Yes, Sparks here not having a great time. Still in 22nd, coming off of game number 3. Ghost is going to be required to have an absolute standout game, make it like we saw potentially V12 or Cyrex in previous games. 2 of those final couple of teams earn those placement points for their squad and for their chance to stay in the top 16. It will be TES Esports rotating their way down into even more danger as you see them just struggling, realistically, and undecided where to move.
I mean, like, with this type of circle, you are just waiting for that shift. And there we have it. We'll have a northern finish all around shooting range and Saverne. You know what? That Snake Hill on the other side of that bunker on shooting range will be very, very strong in this Alot 360 view. And the bunker itself is strong. And don't bear in mind, shooting range all around that fence with a lot of dips. So these teams will claim out those spots really, really quickly, as we still see a congestion on every bit on the southern side.
Rangers are mad, and they are looking to make the return kills onto KI1. KI1 have lost one member so far. The smoke's gonna come over to cover their path as now they make the assault in. Hack shot in the shed, looks to try and make the 2 versus 1. No, it won't. He won't find any. It will be Malik to find out 2-piece, and will it be the 3? Yes, it will. KI1 eliminated in 14th position. A disastrous day number 2 series of games of them, not the way they expected it to go.
Not even into placement point range, Highland. Well, that's how bad it was for them today. And I just really want to ask how they feel after that. I tried it after day 1. You didn't respond to me, and maybe that's the price you're paying. But I mean, what can we say, right? The consistency is so key, and it's going to really add a lot of spice coming into day 2 as well. Meanwhile, the side of Cyrax ESP, I haven't mentioned them quite enough, but they have some good games so far. This game, they've got 3 kills with a full squad with some positions around shooting range. They're hoping to go for more. The bunker fight we were talking about. Look at 4th generation. What are we doing?
4th generation have buried themselves inside the bunker too soon here. As you see, there's now side of Cyrax Esports just gonna chuck the grenades down the stairs, try find one, and push 4th gen out from the doorway. There's no way for them to move, and if this zone shifts away from them, they're gonna be all but trapped.
I mean, it's a play-in decision like that that makes you feel like all the points they got yesterday has a really huge luck component. Like this, we always talk about escape strategy, right? If you hold a spot like that, then limit your footsteps, etc. Why would you send all 4 in there? I'm a little bit disappointed with this play. And I mean, upon the next shift, what are you gonna do now? Right, you're just giving away those skill points to Cyrax if you try to leave. If you're not, you just need to pray so much in their thinking it will go to you, that circle.
You just got to bet all of that zone monies is going to go towards you. But you see risk coming from down that south side, have made a wide rotation themselves, looking to go along that northern coastline, alongside what smokers have already done to pick up that high ground hills, looking over that roadside along the coast. Also, keep in mind a little bit of Severny vote. That is going to be crucial because still having some compound in place, some cover for the side of Rangers will be super important for teams coming along that eastern side.
There's officially going to be a 40% circle, like water zone in that one, so it's going to be really hard. I mean, I think 4th generation is officially screwed, but you know what? Maybe some other team will get screwed on those wide rotation along the coastline. That clash happening everywhere, and Uncle's just holding one of the strongest spots. That Snake Hill, they claimed it early and nicely. Now holding that strong, I think that is why I think they deserve a day like this to play so strong on their day 2.
But they have lost one knock, and meanwhile the knocks all going to happen on this northern coastline as TES will be the ones, the TES team, to take down risk. Trojan has fallen, but keep in mind they have lost one already. Dea has now been flushed out. Dika's looking for the complete first down for the point themselves, make it 2 in total for their squad. But look at Ali's positioning, the grenade behind the derivative, and that will be potentially that grenade straight onto target. No, it won't be, just a little bit over. It won't find a flush. The second one comes over, but will also go wide. And that's crucial play right now. They've given away their flank side, and he didn't get a knock for it.
Oh, they also need to pray when it comes to circle not continuing to go back to the opposite side, and they will need to get back up, and this can be a little bit of a stalemate. Meanwhile, Ranker's trying to hold something down, and we see also Sons of Odin falling one after the other to 4th generation, though, so maybe that team eventually got out of that bunker.
Fourth generation did strike lucky enough to find a way back out and into safety. Not so lucky, though, is Sons of Odin, as they will come up against a wholehearted team of Cyrex, and they will be the ones to find that first knock. Also, will Dia knock onto Alan from the top side, and now the derivative is all but in danger. There's no way out of that coastline. TES team will bury you into the ocean.
It's so tricky, right? STS, we want them to play a good game. We want them to show up. In this type of position, if you're too tunnel vision with the circle closing in, you really need to look at the center zone where you can just get shot. Look at Dia, they're just running and positioning like there's no other team to worry about. And there's Ellie trying to challenge this, will take the 1v1, and they will just take them out.
Lucky for Ali that they do keep themselves alive, albeit got a little bit too close for comfort there, but they do succeed in picking up their fourth kill of the game, pushing themselves slowly up that leaderboard that they are so desperate to make it into the top 6. But we talked about those teams behind them. Wild looking to do just the same as TS team did to their opponents just ahead of them. Bowler is looking to try redeem themselves after an almost chicken dinner in game number 3.
Ooh, and that ship will shift away from many of these teams. It will hit that western edge of Severny, leaving the side of Royal Knights, a name that we haven't spoken enough tonight, and they will have a really, really good position. Meanwhile, Wild needs to get out of here. They still have that awareness to keep their vehicles safe, but I don't know whether they can maneuver it back on ground, and TES will need to rotate. The blue zone is coming in soon. We've got another 15 seconds to go.
Zurich Sons of Odin popping against each other now, as it will just be the 1-for-1 trade, 2 losing on either side. You also see Royal Knights, Simba struggling as they will fall down onto their hands and knees as well. Dika on the rest of TES team, making back quick rotations, quick as they can be, into all of that action as you see just ahead of us. Simba Royal Knights struggling as Smoke is just engaged upon him. And also those fishes, just like we love to see, Wild trying to play the secrecy game.
And just sitting in the car underwater can be really strong, but this is the price to pay because you just can't even get knocked, you die straight away. Meanwhile, Smokers will smoke up and try to control this, contesting it with the Royal Knights with Rangers across the other side of the road.
But look at the position that Smokers hold. They have the position towards the center. They have the positional and man advantage here. So do the side of Rengo's team. They will also be that third party against Royal Knights, who are just struggling, sandwiched between all of these teams. Even behind them, you have more opponents. Wild Destroyer has been found out by DR, and TS team pick off one of the fish in the water.
And then we have these 2 interesting zones in this circle, right? One segment around this edge of Severny, and the other one around Uncle's, that little bit of area on that western edge. Uncle's can't find a spot, and those covers are not quite enough, and that was them actually going down a little bit later than I thought already. The positions of Royal Knights can capitalize on this, and Uncle will need to pray and use the covers well from now on.
Simba not able to find 2 of the Uncles UK, unfortunately having what they did to all of their enemies in game number 1, being on the edge of zone, struggling to make it back into the play area as they lose another. And inside that zone, all of the little fishies swimming their way through that northern side will be super happy because that zone shifts up north. As also Rangers get naded into the face as Mizagi needs to be revived.
And all these 3 teams have to leave, though. The circle's not in their favor, and I think Uncles has a chance here as well if they can make it into that edge and push Syrinx in that edge on the southwestern side, they can claim that spot, get some kills, as well as looking at the abundance of players coming and trying to leave Severny.
Smokers, yes, they have a strong position, right? They have the ideal position to make it into the zone, but there's so many teams behind them, even include, of course, TES Esports, who are now trying to fight against 4th generation. Haters looking to find the one behind. Look behind you when you rotate. Lose one. TES Esports, lose a second, and just lose your entire lives in this game. As they will fall in 8th position. Uncle's fall in 7th. They were not able to make the hard rotation in. And now even more fall is Rengar's team. Lose one Mizagi. Salute into smoke, but not into safety just yet. Smokers smoking up a mega smoke road as they try fight against Royal Knights.
Oh my god, I cannot believe it. TS has the control on that coastal line and will be having that control split along that. We'll be looking at all these players still fighting around Severny. The blue is coming in. It's going to be under immense pressure for all these teams.
Look at 2-4 though for Smokers, make it a trio. And now comes Royal Knights inside. The entire squad falls. And the Royal Knights played a patient game. It works out for them. And they'll make their journey in a quest inside of phase number 6. Still 30 meters to go. As 4th generation Hater needs to be careful he doesn't get caught out himself and have just what he did to his enemies just moments before. Meanwhile, though, still the 3 of TES team having that strong zone gifted to them earlier on, albeit they found Wild and were able to eliminate them from the equation. Simba now knocked, and now it does look like TST, one of these trios squads that we needed to have a good showing in this final game, looking like they will have that chicken dinner faster behind a tree and still one even further back.
When the gods are finally on your side for one time, you really, really need to take it. But I might have just jinxed them. They didn't have the circle and they now have to push it back to this main road. The crate will be there for Dika though, getting those level 3 armor and vest very, very important in this later game.
I mean, keep in mind though, Zurich's Ash is somewhat close to zone. They are potentially able to pull off a mega 1v3 if they can, but they are behind the tree. They are coming down from the open. Around the smokes, it's going to be so difficult, and you see them putting the smokes of their own, looking DR to try find back hill and remove Ash from the puzzle. Dika will fall. Though is faster. Royal Knights not finished yet. Vader will not be stymied in this game, and they look to try deny the chicken dinner from TES, who already have 11 kills.
Oh my god, Zurich can maybe take this. The 2v2v1 is the situation right now. And with them being quite up the leader boss, they can maybe capitalize on this. The almost 1v1 happening. That is RK. Now under pressure as well, needing to rotate into the zone more. The US will be their S cover. TES is not making it work. They've lost it. They've been out at 3rd place.
They lost the control. They tried to take 2 teams on together. Didn't work. Focus on one at a time. And now Ash looking to take that chicken dinner with a Molotov. But it's going to be hard. Looks like Royal Knights will be the ones to take this chicken dinner instead, with their control over TS team, who were just unable, as we say, to make it happen. 9 kills for Royal Knights. Only 2 for Zurich's Ash, but if he can find those 4 kills, if he can find that chicken dinner, will be so good for this team to make it to the top of the leaderboard. Ash comes up, but Ash just goes almost down. Will be a final bullet in to his skull just to finish it off, and Royal Knights take the chicken dinner with 10 kills.
Another 25 points going to some of these teams in the mid-table, I should say. That should bring them to 66 points. This 60 points range, you know, like the 60s, is getting more and more crowded. And tonight is so interesting, Highland Wolf, because we see all the top performing teams in the first day of play not showing up. And those who did not perform, now they are catching back up. Right. So this is going to create that very interesting situation in that mid table. But that, I think, is a really, really good news for the teams that are going to play tomorrow. Groups B and D, if the top performing teams, right, in their first day of play can show up consistently, then they can just charge through that leaderboard. Look at the Nostra MVP still at 7th place. If they repeat that, they are almost doubling the points of many of these teams. And as we see, KOM1 actually got that top spot back just by 1 point though. So given that they started today so strong, I mean, like with so many points before the start of the day, this would be a bit of a choke.
Yeah, they do clinch that top position, albeit it wasn't pretty, not at all, by this KI1 Esports team. 16th position in game number 3, 14th position in game number 4. They haven't created a gap that they need for teams that played yesterday and the day before, groups B and D, of course, to now just come in and steal not only the top positions, but create a gap between groups A and C. We also see, of course, lower down, Royal Knights have now managed to clinch that left side of the first half of the leaderboard. 71 points go to them with their 45 placement points, 26 kills with that double-digit game over on Erangel. Uncles keep themselves on 9th, as you mentioned, their standout game compared to being at the bottom of the leaderboard in day 1. Looking, of course, at the rest of the leaderboard, we now have to look at the side of Uni Team, at the side of some of these squads like Spark in 22nd position. Is it all over for them?
Oh, it's really hard to say. I mean, when it comes to rotations, it's something that you can work on. You can study, especially knowing how other teams rotate. And I think there's still like chance for them, especially with the outlook of tonight, right? Highland, with every team that has done like a bit worse the first day has all come back up, and they just need that one day to maybe come back. But I think it might be really, really hard. We'll talk about the average point that they need to hit around maybe high 90s or 100 points. They need to basically dominate the third day.
Yeah. Dominate, they will have to in their final set of games. But before we go to the next, the end of the day, we do obviously have to talk a bit about groups B and D, the standout teams that we expect to see and what you guys can expect to see, like Nostra MVP, who now have all of the opportunity due to how little the top of the leaderboard was able to be pushed open to now just steal away a mega lead. You saw them with 2 chicken dinners before, Tarzan.
And I think it's going to be so interesting with the amount of the types of team that we get tomorrow. Be My Loot, one's very good one. Heartshift didn't play so well, but very much feared. Most Wanted, good experience, but also sharing some friendly rivalry with Heartshift. Not just that, but with like a Nostra MVP. Half of the roster has been playing together with the roster of Most Wanted. So that will be a very interesting one. So we're just waiting for that. And what can I say? Such a great show tonight. And of course, let's not forget our sponsor, Xiaomi, innovation for everyone, to support this event. Very lovely to have them. And most importantly, very lovely to have my partner, Highland Wolf, in this one. And the rest of you who have been supporting us. Tomorrow is going to be so spicy. And I guarantee you both, Highland Wolf and myself, will bring back all those storylines. We will interview them, see how they feel, and we will set all those drama out for you as we see them frags on the beautiful grounds of PUBG Mobile.
Yeah, thank you guys, of course, for tuning in to day number 3 of the PUBG Mobile Club Open United Kingdom Spring Split 2021. Don't go anywhere because there's still 3 more days of action for the rest of the week. Tune in same time tomorrow. Groups B and D will be facing up. Have a good evening, everyone.